We're back from Computex 2026 in Taiwan, where there were loads of new monitors announced and showcased. Hopefully you've had a chance to keep up to date on what's been going on with all of our video and written coverage, but in this video we're going to round up all of the best monitor news coming out of the event in one place. So in case you missed anything during that very busy week, or you just wanted a recap of what is going on. If you want loads more detail about all of the screens covered in this roundup, we'll provide links below where you can find our main coverage for each brand, where you can find lots of additional information. Anyway, let's get into it. Let's start with some of our personal highlights from this year's event and 3 world's first displays that were newly announced in the OLED space. Let's start with the smallest and work up in size from there. First up is a new OLED monitor aimed specifically at esports and competitive gaming. It's the world's first 24.5 inch sized OLED monitor, which was unveiled by Asus. Its spec is aimed at that target gaming segment, offering a 1080p native resolution and a high 540Hz refresh rate for super smooth and clear motion. And it's built around a latest gen tandem WOLED panel from LG Display. It also features their true black glossy screen coating for a super clear and sharp image, and it's one of the first OLED monitors to be announced so far with a VESA Display HDR True Black 600 certification, offering a brighter screen than we've seen on anything before. In fact, this one has a 1700 nits peak brightness spec and 390 nits for full screen white and for SDR, which is really impressive. A range of gaming extras like a new quick access OSD menu, ELMB blur reduction and familiar Asus ROG settings are included, of course, and this one looks like it could be a really interesting alternative to the range of LCD models that dominate this size at the moment, offering what should be a far better all-round performance. It's due to be released in mid Q4. Next up is a larger 32-inch sized QD-OLED monitor announced from MSI, which is the world's first 32-inch 4K 360Hz refresh rate OLED monitor, which is a significant step up from the 240Hz models that have been around for a couple of years now. This one offers a really impressive spec, including a triple mode function, which offers support for an even higher 520Hz at 1440p and 680Hz at 1080p. The first time actually that we've seen multi-mode support from a QD-OLED panel, in fact, and something which moving forward we should see featured on more QD-OLED panels. This one also meets the True Black 600 tier for HDR with a 1500 nits peak brightness, which is the highest we've seen from any QD-OLED monitor panel so far. It also has an RGB striped subpixel layout for improved text clarity and their dark armor film, which improves blacks and panel hardness. This one was very much in prototype stage at the moment, and it won't be released until Q1 2027 at best. Expect to see this in a more final stage at CES in all likelihood, and it's definitely one to watch out for. Moving up in size again, and Dell unveiled their new Alienware AW3926QW, a large 39-inch ultra-wide screen built around a tandem WOLED panel. It's got a so-called 5K 2K resolution, and this is the world's first in this size to offer an RGB striped subpixel layout for enhanced text clarity, as well as a super clear glossy screen coating, a dream spec and combination for many people. It's got a 165Hz native refresh rate and a dual mode function which can push up to 330Hz at a lower 2560 by 1080 resolution, and despite the removal of the white subpixel in that RGB stripe design, it still offers decent brightness capabilities with True Black 500 certification for HDR and a peak brightness of 1300 nits. It also supports Dolby Vision HDR as well as HDR10, and even includes useful features like eARC sound over HDMI, which is pretty rare in the monitor space, but seemingly becoming more common with a lot of the screens being announced this week. Perhaps most impressive is the price point. This one has a target launch price of $1,099. Yes, that's right, $1,099, and it should be released towards the end of the summer. Let's hope that they've got stock to keep up with the inevitable demand for that screen. We'll hopefully receive a unit soon as well prior to launch for a full review, so do hit subscribe if you want to stay up to date on that. Those are 3 of the world's first announcements from Computex this year. What about all of the other OLED news? Let's again work up in size, starting with 27-inch size models, where there was a very wide range of new models announced from various brands. One of the highlights in this space was actually another world's first, and that's a new screen from MSI that is the first to use Samsung Display's latest Pentatandem QD-OLED panel technology in a 27-inch size with a 1440p resolution. That brings with it improvements in brightness compared with previous 27-inch 1440p QD-OLED panels, now reaching the HDR True Black 500 tier, and it has the addition of their dark armor film which improves contrast, blacks and panel hardness. This model will offer a 320Hz refresh rate and sits in MSI's lower tier MAG series of screens, so it's got an attractive price point as well. MSI also showcased a model in their Pro Max series of screens that's worth mentioning, a black design version of a model that we first saw at CES in January that had a white design at the time. This one offers a 27-inch 4K resolution QD-OLED panel, a 166 ppi pixel density and a lower 120Hz refresh rate, as it's aimed at professional users and productivity applications. This panel is slightly different to others that we've seen in the 27-inch 4K QD-OLED space, as it features their dark armor film on this model as well, something that we've not seen rolled out into any of the mainstream 27-inch 4K QD-OLED models yet. It also features another optional coating from the panel manufacturer Samsung Display, offering a matte anti-glare finish, which MSI are marketing under their name of Visi Clarity, and this makes the screen more suited to brighter room conditions and professional office environments. ASRock had a wide range of 27-inch models on show, including various new models in their new Tai Chi series, which offers a new design aesthetic and improved connectivity options across the entire product range. That includes DP 2.1, HDMI 2.1 and USB Type-C connectivity, along with a USB hub, KVM switch and integrated speakers. They're releasing various models with a choice of QD-OLED and WOLED technology panels, and a choice in some cases between black and white designs as well. Their flagship launch was a new 27-inch 4K resolution screen built around a new tandem WOLED panel from LG Display, which has recently gone into mass production. This one offers an RGB striped subpixel layout for the first time in this size. Actually, it's LG Display's first 27-inch WOLED panel with a 4K resolution of any type. It offers a 240Hz native refresh rate and a dual mode function for 480Hz at 1080p. It's even got a glossy screen coating too, which we know many people will really like. That new ASRock screen is only the second monitor that we've seen announced so far that uses this new 27-inch 4K WOLED panel, another being a model from Asus, which, although it wasn't directly on show at Computex, was talked about at their ROG launch, as the panel is now mass production and release is expected around October time at a similar time to ASRock's screen. Elsewhere, in ASRock's new Tai Chi series of monitors, they offered a 27-inch 4K resolution QD-OLED version with a 240Hz refresh rate and all the connectivity associated with that new lineup. That's going to be available sooner at a decent price of $799 US. Like we said, ASRock are offering models with a similar spec but different panel choices in this new range, so you can choose there between this QD-OLED version or wait for the upcoming WOLED version that we just discussed. That 27-inch 4K QD-OLED model will also be available in a white design at a slightly higher price point for those who have a white system and setup. ASRock also had a couple of super high refresh rate 27-inch OLED monitors on show. The first uses a 500Hz QD-OLED panel, while the second offers a 540Hz WOLED panel instead. Both have a glossy screen coating, with the latter also offering a dual mode function for 720Hz at a lower 720p resolution for certain niche gaming situations. With both screens expected to be priced the same, you've again got a choice between the two competing panel technologies depending on your preferences. ASRock also showcased a couple of 27-inch OLED models in their earlier Phantom gaming lineup, with fewer connection options but available at an attractive price point thanks to their use of a Samsung Display QD-OLED Edge panel. These Edge panels offer a 1440p resolution and 240Hz refresh rate, but a lower overall brightness with 400 nits peak for HDR and a more modest 200 nits for SDR, which is one of the reasons why these QD-OLED Edge panels are available at attractive price points around the $400 mark. Gigabyte also announced three 27-inch models in their new Aorus Elite series of screens, which offers a new design aesthetic and a focus on premium features. That includes a new heat pipe cooling design to help panel temperature and reduce the risks of image retention, a new OLED care sensor built into the bottom of the screen, which can automatically turn the screen off when you move away via a feature called auto lock, and also do things like dynamically control the brightness and color temperature depending on your ambient light conditions using a feature called adaptive light. A couple of these new 27-inch models even offer an extended 4-year warranty as a result of these new care features. Gigabyte announced Aorus Elite series versions of two of their popular current screens at Computex. The FO27Q28G is an equivalent to their existing MO27Q28GR with the same 1440p tandem WOLED panel, 1440p resolution and 280Hz refresh rate. Another new feature on the Aorus Elite series is the addition of eARC sound over HDMI, and it also keeps the same real black glossy screen coating as their MO version, but it now adds all of those new Elite series features that we've just talked about, while still maintaining an attractive price point. Their second refresh model was their FO27Q24G. This one, an Aorus Elite series equivalent to the GO27Q24G that we reviewed very recently. This offers a 27-inch 1440p WOLED panel, a 240Hz refresh rate and a real black glossy screen coating. It uses a previous gen WOLED panel which isn't quite as bright, meeting the lower True Black 400 tier instead of True Black 500, but still offering a decent 1300 nits peak brightness spec. It's got the new Elite series features again and a 4-year warranty, and it will be available for around $50 more than the Geo model is right now. The final new 27-inch model announced from Gigabyte this year was their own version of the 27-inch 1440p 540Hz tandem WOLED panel that we've seen from a few manufacturers already, like the ASRock model that we mentioned a moment ago, and a couple of existing screens from Asus and LG that are already available. Gigabyte have opted to go for the glossy panel version as well, with all of their Aorus Elite range being glossy in fact. And this offers the same dual mode function, 720Hz at 720p again. This comes in at a decent price point for this spec, and again includes all of their new Elite series features like the OLED care sensor and so on. Ant Gamer, a brand which is aimed at competitive and esports gamers, also announced their version of this panel. It's using the same panel as the ASRock and Gigabyte models that we just talked about, and it's expected to be launched in Q4. Asus also unveiled a special edition of their version of this monitor as part of their 20th anniversary collection, offering the same panel and spec as the original silver model, which was the first to market using this particular panel last year, but now it comes with an alternative black and gold design which look really smart. That should be available imminently as well. It wasn't all about gaming at the event either, as Asus also had a couple of new 27-inch models in their professional ProArt range on show, both with a 4K resolution, pentatandem QD-OLED panels. One had a 240Hz refresh rate and a top-tier feature set, including things like a Thunderbolt 4 hub and built-in flip-out colorimeter, while the other had a lower 120Hz refresh rate and a more modest feature set for an expected lower price point. You can find loads more information about the ProArt models in our roundup article linked below. HKC also showcased a couple of new 27-inch OLED monitors under their HKC and Karui brands. They had the HKC 27U24B, which offers a 27-inch 4K resolution QD-OLED panel with a standard semi-glossy screen coating and 240Hz refresh rate. With their ongoing global expansion, this is expected to be launched in North America in Q4. By the way, you can find out loads more about HKC's global expansion plans, their core product lineup, and some of their unique upcoming displays in our recent feature article linked in the description below. They also had a budget-friendly model in their Karui brand, offering a 27-inch 1440p resolution QD-OLED panel and a 240Hz refresh rate. This doesn't appear to be one of the reduced brightness QD-OLED edge panels either, still offering 250 nits for SDR and a peak 1000 mode for HDR, but it's still available at a very decent price nonetheless. As you can see, there were a lot of 27-inch OLED monitors announced this year, but for those who like a larger screen, there were also several bigger options unveiled. Both Asus and Gigabyte announced new models which will make use of a brand new tandem WOLED panel for the first time in this 32-inch 4K OLED segment. We've only seen one screen announced previously using this new technology, and that was a model from LG Electronics that was announced at CES in January, although not actually on show at the event and not yet released properly to market either. That's probably because the panel mass production has only recently started, so we'd expect these newly announced Asus and Gigabyte models to be not too far behind LG's model. Both Asus and Gigabyte are actually offering two models in this size to choose from, all with glossy screen coatings, which is different to the matte anti-glare coating that LG opted for on their model. Asus's flagship launch was their ROG Swift PG32UCWM, which is unique so far in that it uses an RGB stripe version of this new tandem WOLED panel, making it a little bit more suited to office work, professional applications, and for those who are particularly sensitive to text clarity and sharpness. It's got a 240Hz refresh rate, dual mode for 480Hz at 1080p, and a true black glossy screen coating. And as part of the ROG Swift series, it includes all of the latest features, including full speed DisplayPort 2.1 connectivity, a new lower temperature GaN power supply, and Dolby Vision HDR support as well. Because of the removal of the white subpixel from the panel design, the brightness is a little bit lower though, with True Black 400 certification and a peak brightness of 1000 nits offered. That one's due out around October time. If you wanted a brighter 32-inch 4K tandem WOLED screen, then Asus are also releasing an ROG Strix series version of the screen, using the standard panel design and an RGWB layout and keeping the white subpixel in there. The rest of the panel spec is largely the same, but this standard panel layout means a higher brightness, with 1500 nits peak for HDR and True Black 500 certification. That model wasn't actually on show at the event for some reason, but it's due to be released around the same time as an alternative option if you want a brighter experience and you're not bothered about the minor potential clarity difference for text. It has a more modest design as well that some people prefer, but it does have a trimmed down feature set and connectivity, but it's likely to come in at a lower price point as a result. Gigabyte also announced two models in their Aorus Elite series, which use the new 32-inch 4K tandem WOLED panel. Both of theirs are using the RGWB version, like Asus's ROG Strix model that we just talked about. Both have the same 4K resolution, 240Hz refresh rate, 480Hz dual mode, and real black glossy screen coating. The difference really is that the higher tier GP model offers full speed DP 2.1 connectivity, whereas the G model has a lower tier speed and will have to rely on DSC for full signal support. The GP model also adds a variety of AI features such as AI scene selection, AI sound, and AI upscaling. That GP model will be available a couple of months later at around $100 price premium, so you can decide if you want to wait or if you need any of those extra features. We talked earlier about MSI's key launch this year, which is that 32-inch 4K 360Hz QD-OLED monitor. They did also have one other new 32-inch OLED on show, part of their MAG series, and the first model that we've seen from any manufacturer so far to use a QD-OLED edge panel in this size. Those have been limited to 27-inch size panels until now. That means that this will offer reduced brightness like the 27-inch models. We expect 200 nits for SDR, 400 nits for HDR, and without the peak 1000 mode. It has a 180Hz refresh rate as well, so a bit lower than the typical 240Hz screens of this size. We don't have a price point at this stage or a release date, but we'd hope for this to signal a more competitive entry-level price point for the 32-inch 4K OLED segment when it's released, with other brands very likely to follow at some point. Kirui also had their current S3241XO model on show, offering a 32-inch 4K QD-OLED panel with a 240Hz refresh rate. This model has some useful features like USB Type-C connectivity and is available now. Moving back to Asus again briefly, and they also unveiled their new 32-inch QD-OLED models in their professional ProArt range, with a 4K resolution and 240Hz refresh rate offered on the flagship model. This one has a range of high-end features for colour accuracy, including a built-in colorimeter and hardware calibration support, along with convenience features like a Thunderbolt 4 hub and a bundled shading hood. Being a Pro range model, it obviously carries a hefty price tag though, but offers superior levels of accuracy and user convenience. A lower spec model was also showcased with a 4K resolution and a lower 120Hz refresh rate QD-OLED panel and a more modest feature set. That will no doubt be available at a lower price point than the flagship model, and as we said earlier, Loads more information on these ProArt screens in our dedicated article linked below. Moving up in size again, and there were a few ultra-wide OLED monitors announced as well. ASUS were showcasing their new ROG Strix model at the event, which should be available very soon to buy. This has a 34-inch ultra-wide panel, 3440 by 1440 resolution, and uses the latest 5th gen pentatandem QD OLED panel technology. This screen offers a 280Hz refresh rate, and it's basically a slightly trimmed down version of their existing ROG Swift PG 34WCDN that we reviewed already earlier this year. With the same panel, just a lower 280Hz refresh rate instead of the 360Hz as offered on the higher end model. It still features an RGB striped subpixel layout, which significantly improves text clarity and sharpness on this panel compared with earlier 34-inch ultra-wide OLED monitors. This kind of pixel density, which is also the same as 27-inch 1440p, is really where we see the most benefit in moving to an RGB stripe layout for improving text clarity, and we really hope to see more of this pixel density coming soon. The screen also features their Black Shield film for improving blacks in brighter rooms and increases panel hardness, and it's certified under the HDR True Black 500 tier for brightness. This model provides an interesting lower cost option if you're after a new 34-inch ultra-wide OLED screen with the latest panel technology and features. Also announced was Dell's Alienware AW3426DW, their latest update to their popular 34-inch OLED series and their third generation in fact since the market's OG OLED monitor that they released back in 2022. This uses the same pentatandem QD OLED panel as the ASUS model that we just talked about, same resolution, 280Hz refresh rate again, RGB stripe layout and the added film for improving blacks and panel hardness. Dell's model will also feature Dolby Vision HDR support, and it will be available at an attractive price point when it's released next month. We actually have the screen with us now for full review ready for launch, so do keep an eye out for that in the coming weeks. MSI also showcased their MEG-X monitor, part of their MEG series, that was originally unveiled in January at CES in prototype form. Now it's a lot further along in development and due to be released around November. This is their new flagship 34-inch ultra-wide OLED monitor, using a very similar panel to the ASUS and Dell models that we've just discussed, just with the higher 360Hz refresh rate version. That's the same as MSI used on their MPG model as well that was released earlier this year that we've already reviewed. What makes this one different is that the MEG-X model includes a load of added AI features. They're designed to enhance your gaming experience. We won't go through all of those in detail here. Do check out our MSI video for more information on things like their Spectrum Bar Plus and their so-called Lucky Claw AI mascot. Also interesting was MSI's Pro Max series model with a white design and, for the first time that we've seen in the market, a flat 34-inch ultra-wide OLED panel instead of the usual 1800R curvature that we see in this segment. It's still a 5th gen pentatandem QD OLED panel, 3440 by 1440 resolution, RGB stripe layout and dark armor film, but it's got a flat panel instead of curved and a lower 144Hz refresh rate. MSI have also taken the matte anti-glare coating option for this panel like they had on their 27-inch Pro Max model that we discussed earlier, marketed by them as Visi Clarity, and that's used to reduce glare and reflections in brighter rooms and office environments where this screen is aimed. That's an interesting option we think, and it's nice to see a flat ultra-wide OLED panel on offer for the first time. Maybe we'll see that adopted elsewhere in the future as well. The largest new OLED screen that we saw was the 39-inch ultra-wide Dell Alienware AW3926QW that we discussed earlier on in this video. We won't go over all that again, but it's worth mentioning here again as it was one of the most exciting announcements from Computex this year in the monitor space. And that one offers an even larger screen size and higher resolution if you're after an ultra-wide OLED monitor. Let's move away from OLED and talk about all of the main LCD news coming out of Computex as well, as there were some exciting announcements in this space too. We'll try and work up in size again from small to large here to summarise all of the models being announced. Let's start with the smallest 24-inch size screens from Computex, and we saw a couple of competitive gamer-focused models in the Ant Gamer range, the highlight of which was a new model which can support 1000Hz refresh rate at 1080p resolution. Now, the vast majority of 1000Hz plus models that were announced earlier in the year only achieved that at a lower 720p resolution, so that's a pretty niche resolution. So this is now a decent step up for gamers and makes 1000Hz gaming more interesting to many people. This one's also built around a TN film technology panel instead of the others which have all been IPS so far, likely to be more suited to fast-paced gaming with a more responsive panel. The panel is from HKC themselves, the parent company of AntGamer, and so it's an exclusive to them at the moment. This one's due to be released in North America in Q1 2027. For something slightly slower but still super fast, they also had another 24-inch TN film 1080p monitor on show with a still very fast 750Hz refresh rate. That one's likely to therefore be a lower price point and should be released a little bit earlier. Moving up to 27-inch size screens, and the highlights were a selection of new mini LED monitors in this space, which were the most interesting LCD screens that we saw at the event. First up is arguably the flagship model from the new Gigabyte Aorus Elite series, a 27-inch IPS LCD with a 5K resolution and a high-end 2304 zone mini LED backlight. This offers excellent HDR capabilities, and the screen includes HDR 1000 certification as well. Gigabyte's model uses the same panel from BOE as used in the recently launched LG UltraGear 27GM950B, a monitor that we have with us now for review. In fact, LG weren't at Computex, so we didn't see it there. And the Gigabyte and LG models both promote what is called a zero optical distance feature, which is designed to help reduce blooming and halos when using the local dimming backlight. Gigabyte's model has got a slightly overclocked 180Hz refresh rate in 5K mode and also offers a multi-mode support, an evolution of dual mode, which offers the ability to drop to either 4K at 220Hz or 1440p at 330Hz if you want. It's got a glossy screen coating, modern connectivity like DP 2.1 and even eARC sound over HDMI. It's due to be released in Q4 and this one looks really smart. MSI also showcased their upcoming 27-inch 5K mini LED monitor again, a model that we saw back in January at CES, but which has now been updated a little bit and moves a little bit nearer to its expected launch. Their model is actually built around a different panel than the Gigabyte and LG models, opting to use a panel from AU Optronics instead of BOE, while still offering largely the same spec. It's still got that super high pixel density for a Retina class resolution, 180Hz native refresh rate, 320Hz dual mode at 1440p. It's also got a 2304 zone mini LED backlight for high-end HDR capabilities, but it includes a higher certification tier for display HDR 1400. Like the Gigabyte model we talked about, MSI will also offer a glossy screen coating on this screen as well. Note that the refresh rate has been updated slightly from when we saw this at CES, now up to 180Hz from 165Hz, warranting a minor change to the model name as a result. It's also been updated to a full-speed DP 2.1 UHBR20 connectivity, which is another welcome change. Because of the use of a different panel, their model seems to be a way off release still compared with the LG and Gigabyte options, not expected until around January 2027. Pricing is still to be officially confirmed. A third 27-inch mini LED monitor to mention was the newly unveiled HKC 27U165D, offering a lower 4K resolution and 165Hz refresh rate and a lower pixel density as a result. There's no dual mode function on this one either. What makes this model potentially very interesting though is that it uses HKC's proprietary RGB mini LED backlight technology. It's got 1152 local dimming zones, but each of those zones is split up into individual red, green and blue elements, offering the ability to offer a much wider colour space than traditional mini LED backlights. HKC quote 95% Rec 2020 coverage, for example, which is very impressive. With HKC's global expansion, we're pleased to see that this model will also be released in Europe and North America in early 2027, and it will be really interesting to see what their RGB mini LED technology can offer. They've also got another larger 32-inch class flagship RGB mini LED monitor that we'll talk about in a moment too. While we're still talking about 27-inch LCDs, under HKC's other Karui brand, we also saw their mainstream 27-inch mini LED screen at the show, One that's actually already available now, but worth a quick mention as it's also one that we're reviewing at the moment. This one's got a 4K resolution, 160Hz refresh rate, and a dual mode function for 320Hz at 1080p. Its 1152 zone mini LED backlight offers impressive HDR capabilities and brightness, including display HDR 1400 certification. This model is available now at a very decent price point for a mini LED monitor of this spec. Moving away from mini LED monitors, ASUS also showcased their new 27-inch 5K resolution IPS LCD monitor, their second in fact, offering a dual mode function. This new model offers an 80Hz refresh rate at 5K with a quad boost that supports 320Hz maximum at a lower 1440p resolution. That's another 5K dual mode option entering the market soon, aimed at a lower price point because of its lower native refresh rate. Also worth a quick mention was the new ASUS TUF Gaming or TUF Gaming series screen announced as part of their press release for Computex, although we didn't see this one at their booth during the event. This model offers 27-inch size screen with a 1440p resolution, an IPS panel and a decent 320Hz refresh rate, and supports gaming features such as their ELNB Sync blur reduction mode, and it should come in at a low price point as part of their TUF Gaming range. MSI also had their lower tier MAG series 27-inch 5K LCD monitor on show as well, expected to arrive sooner in September than their mini LED version, but this one has a lower native refresh rate of 75Hz, but it still supports 300Hz in dual mode operation for a quad boost for certain gaming situations. This model doesn't have a mini LED backlight and it sticks with the traditional matte anti-glare coating, so it lacks the premium features of the MPG series mini LED model that we talked about a moment ago. We also saw a normal LCD 27-inch 5K model from HKC with a 218 ppi pixel density again, and theirs had a 180Hz refresh rate. This screen will have a glossy coating as well, and they're also promoting their AI features for this one, although we're told that that's not much more than AI scene selection at the moment. Again, this is coming to more regions in Q1 next year as part of their global expansion. If you want a larger LCD screen for increased immersion and a bigger screen size, then one of the most interesting LCD showcases this year was HKC's 32-inch RGB mini LED monitor, one that we saw in early development stage back at CES in January, but now getting very close to release. This is like their 27-inch model that we discussed a minute ago, featuring their proprietary RGB mini LED backlight technology for improved colours and a very impressive 99.9% Rec 2020 coverage. This 31.4-inch size model has a 1596 local dimming zone backlight, again split up into red, green and blue elements, hence the RGB naming. It offers HDR 1400 certification as well. It's got a 4K resolution, 165Hz native refresh rate, a VA LCD panel and a glossy screen coating, and it should be released in early 2027 in North America after its release in China quite soon in Q3. Finally, in the 32-inch segment, Dell unveiled their new Alienware 32-inch LCD, built around a VA LCD panel with a 1440p resolution and 240Hz refresh rate. It also includes a few useful features like USB Type-C, Dolby Vision HDR, and while it's not as headline grabbing as their new OLED monitors that were announced, it does come in at a decent price point, and it's a model from a popular monitor brand that a lot of people like. If you want something larger still, then the most interesting ultra-wide LCD launch this year was a model from Acer in their Nitro range with an impressive spec. It's got a 5K 2K resolution, 180Hz refresh rate, dual mode support for 360Hz at a lower resolution, and most interesting of all, it's got a 1134 zone mini LED backlight, something that's pretty rare in the ultra-wide LCD space. We didn't get to see this one in person at the event, but it's worth mentioning and it's due to be released in Q3, Q4, depending on the region. Elsewhere in the normal LCD space, Asus announced a new TUF Gaming series 34-inch ultra-wide screen with a 1500R curvature, 3440 by 1440 resolution and 240Hz native refresh rate. This one, interestingly, also has a dual mode function which supports 480Hz but only at a much lower ultra-wide 720p resolution. ASRock also unveiled their new 34-inch ultra-wide VA LCD screen, same spec 1500R curve, 200Hz refresh rate for their model. This one also has a dual mode function supporting 400Hz, and it looks therefore like dual mode is becoming increasingly common now in the gaming monitor market, including for ultra-wide and LCD screens. If you want to know loads more about dual mode monitors, some of the future developments in this space, do check out our featured article linked in the description below. Dell also had a new ultra-wide VA LCD screen on show, aimed at a budget-friendly price point, but this one doesn't have a dual mode function. It still has a 1500R curvature, same resolution, 240Hz refresh rate, and it's due to be released soon. Karui also had their 34-inch ultra-wide monitor on show, with a steeper 1000R curvature for increased immersion for gaming, and built around a VA panel as well. It's got a 180Hz native refresh rate, and it's available now. Finally, to finish up the LCD news, we're moving up to a much larger screen size now, and we saw HKC show off their prototype 83.4-inch super ultra wide display with a 48:9 aspect ratio. It's got a 1000R curvature and a massive 11520 by 2160 resolution. It was set up in a demo in a sim racing rig as a proof of concept, and it's the same size and resolution as three 32-inch 4K resolution monitors side by side. It's an impressive concept and certainly grabbed your eye when you walked past, but at the moment it's a prototype only while HKC tests the market interest. So that's all of the most interesting monitor news from Computex 2026. Loads of new OLED and LCD monitors, mini LED news, loads of stuff going on, and some really exciting things to look forward to over the next 6 months or so. We saw lots of new OLED panel updates as well this year from Samsung Displays QD-OLED and from LG Displays WOLED, but we'll provide a mid-year update on all of those new panels in a future update video coming soon. If you've enjoyed this roundup, please give us a quick like below, that would be really appreciated. I now need a break from all things Computex after a super busy week covering all of the event and everything that's been going on. Next up at the end of August is Gamescom though, so hopefully we'll see some further news and announcements at that event too. Anyway, thank you for watching, we'll catch you next time.